Bismillah wa salatu wassalam ala Rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome again to the Muslim Advice channel. Today we're going to talk about or give advice to those people who are Quran only Muslims. Those people who say that we are Muslims, but we only follow the Quran and we ignore all Hadith. My advice to them, well, first and foremost, let's understand, I think, from my perspective, why are they doing this? I think, or even, let's back up even more. Maybe some of you listening have never even heard of this, have never even considered this, right? That you could be a Muslim and then ignore Hadith. There are many videos actually online already that discuss this, that actually debate with and debunk these people who believe that we should only follow the Quran and disregard the Hadith. I have no idea when this movement started, but at face value, and even on a superficial level, one can easily see that if one takes this approach, you're going to have a lot of chaos, confusion, and essentially a dismantling of Islam. Because if we say we follow the Quran alone is open to many, many ways of interpretation if we just say we're going to follow the Quran alone. This is one of the wisdoms why Allah sent down the Hadith. But again, I could go on into details of why we should follow the Hadith from a academic standpoint, right? And a historical analysis standpoint. But those have already been done. There are many videos. I think the Muslim Lantern, he has a recent video on his channel where he goes deeply into this. I think it's the Muslim Lantern. If not, I'll post the actual channel in the description of this video, of this upload, if it's someone else. But at any rate, an even simpler, more succinct way to disprove these people who believe that we should only follow the Quran alone is simply by the fact that these people believe in Hadith in all other contexts except when it comes to Islam. They believe in Hadith in all other situations in their life except when it comes to Islam. I guarantee you. What do I mean when I say that? I mean that, what is Hadith? Hadith is a historical collection and accounting of things that were said by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Essentially, it is a type of history. So there can be hadith, not only for the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, again, hadith meaning history. There can be hadith about other figures throughout history, recent history and ancient history, about things that they've said and things that they've done. If we study, for example, Roman history, Greek history, those two civilizations upon which the West stems from, you'll find that there are many accounts of the events that transpired throughout the time periods within which these empires existed. And what modern people have done is that they've learned from the history or from the hadith of those individuals. So all the sayings and occurrences from the Roman leaders, from the Roman government, from the Roman scholars, from the Greek scholars, the Greek leadership, and so on and so forth, Western civilization, Western modern civilization is dependent upon those narrations. It's dependent upon those hadith. We don't discount them and say, well, we're just going to what? There's no there's no revelation, right? There's only history. So we have no choice but to depend upon the history or hadith from these ancient civilizations. But then for some reason, these Muslims, when it comes to Islam and practicing Islam, they want to discount Islamic history entirely. It's unbelievable. They want to discount Islamic history entirely, regardless of the fact that hadith science is perhaps more thorough, and in fact, without a doubt, it's more thorough in its scientific approach and analysis of discernment between what is authentic and what is inauthentic and everything in between, that came from the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ himself and from his companions. So then, how can they on the one hand discount the hadith and the history of Islam and say we're only going to stick to the Quran, while accepting wholeheartedly the history of everyone else? Western civilization, Indian civilization, Chinese civilization, Russian civilization, etc., etc. But then they deny the hadith and the history of Islam. But what's even more of an indictment of their approach, of their philosophy, of their poor analysis, is the fact that if we are, according to them, supposed to follow the Quran alone, then why is there a need for the Prophet, for any prophets for that matter? If we're supposed to follow the Quran alone, follow the text alone, why do we need the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? If the Quran alone is all that needs to be adhered to, why didn't Allah send Jibreel to give the Quran to any random person from Mecca in Quraysh? Give them the Quran and say, read this and share it with others. Bye, have a nice day. And never be seen or heard from again. Right? The Quran could have just been revealed to any literate person from Mecca. He could have been told to share it with his peers, and that was it. He could have opened the Quran and started reading, and then that's it. He understands it and starts to apply it, because all we need is the Quran, according to these people. So do you see the point where their philosophy is completely flawed? It has nothing to stand on, because to deny the hadith is to deny the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Is to deny his explanation of the Quran. If all we need is the Quran alone, then we don't need the Prophet at all. Na'udhu billahi min dhalik. We seek refuge with Allah from that. Why didn't Allah do that then? Just give the Quran to any random person from Mecca, and the angel Jibreel turn around and walk away. Any random literate Arab. It should have been as effective. And perhaps, according to them, it should have been even more effective if people, for all these centuries, who have been studying both the Quran and Hadith, all these centuries, 1400 years now, what they're saying is we've effectively been making a mistake that has been compounded over time. And what we should have done is simply stick to the Quran, and that would have been it. So I think I've made this clear that this is the most reasonable, simple-minded way to counter the argument of the people who believe in the Quran alone, because they are people who are effectively denying the Messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the task that he was given. What role does he have to play in prophethood if we are to disavow all of his speech, all of his habits, and all of his teachings that come in conjunction with the Quran, but are separate from the Quran? And they are the Hadith. When considering it like this, it becomes obvious that the Hadith are necessary. I understand that some people may convert to Islam and they may see the many of the laws, right, prescriptions of Islam to be somewhat daunting, especially if you're coming from a Western background, a Western liberal background. So they may say, well, I like Islam, I believe in the Prophet Muhammad, I believe in the Quran, but all these rules and regulations, prayers at specific times, I don't know about that. But I'm willing to be a Muslim. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Okay. But they're going to ignore the Hadith. Yeah, this is a major mistake because you're denying a major part of Islam. You're literally denying Islam. Not just a major part of Islam. You're denying Islam. There's no Islam without the Hadith. There's no Islam without the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So for those of you who have this mindset, especially the new Muslims, take your time, right? Submit and realize, yes, I have to follow the Hadith too. And right now it's difficult for me, but I hope to work towards making it easier with the permission of Allah, where it becomes more of a habit to absorb and practice the Hadith in its entirety, and thus practice Islam in its entirety to the best of your ability. So that's my advice on this topic. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. If you have any questions, if you know anyone who needs advice, share this channel with them. Share the email that is in the description. And that's enough for today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.